students. In the connection with the previous lectures, we today have a very important lecture regarding literature review. This lecture and this topic will enable the researcher to find out the correct evidence, quality evidence, and to build up his or her own manuscript and proposal for the defense and for peer review. So if you don't know what has been done on a certain topic of interest in the years before, you cannot conduct a good research, because your own research will be built up on the existing pool of knowledge. So mainly a researcher build up on the existing base of the knowledge, and then from there he or she extrapolates some other inferences based on his or her own research. So the topic literature review is just not literature review. It includes literature search as well. And because obviously we are talking about medical and health sciences literature search and literature review. So before doing the literature review, we need to have some literature, and that literature we need to find out from where? From the libraries. Although in the current timings, in the current era, libraries are mostly used for digital purposes, not for the physical evidence in the form of papers, books, and journals. But still, libraries has its importance in terms of hard evidence in the form of physical evidence, as well as the digital evidence as well. So in this context, we have the lecture objectives for today's lecture, where we excuse me, hello. So I'm sorry about that. It was from the principal's office, so I had to take up that phone. All right. So the lecture objective for today's lecture we'll discuss how to conduct a good literature review. So at the end of the lecture, you'll be able to analyze the qualities of a good literature search, and then you will be able to find out the national online resources. National online resources means those digital search engines which are specifically having Pakistani literature available online or maybe offline in the physical form. And we'll also discuss the international online resources that you already know. The most popular one is PubMed, and there are others, but PubMed is enough for you at this level. And we'll discuss in the end that a good research question, how it empowers a good literature search and good literature review. So I would like to take the question answers in the last half an hour. So I'll try to finish it within half an hour, and then the rest of the time we'll designate for question answers. So how can we conduct a good literature search? Because before doing literature review, you need to do some literature search. So these are 5 elements of a good successful literature search and subsequently literature review. So because we know we have to devise and formulate research objectives at the very beginning. Those research objectives will enable us to find the keywords for our specific very topic. Those keywords will help us finding the correct and useful literature from the internet or maybe from the library. So one of the most important thing is build up your keywords library, which is usually within 10 to 20 words, but you can increase the number of words depending on the synonyms you have. For example, diabetes mellitus can be considered as impaired sugar level or impaired blood glucose. So these three terminologies may be considered as synonymous. Then you need to know the operators. By operators we mean Boolean operators. We'll discuss it in the very end, what are Boolean operators, because sometimes it's not easy for the students to understand what Boolean operators are. But Boolean operators are certain terminologies and certain words which enable you to find specific literature and exclude the unnecessary one. And some other Boolean operators enable you to find more expanded search when you are not limited to find few numbers of literature or manuscripts. So if you want to find anything about diabetes mellitus in Pakistan, be it an experiment or a survey or a cross-sectional study or maybe just a guideline, you can use that kind of Boolean operator which can expand your research, expand your search on the internet. And there are filters as well. So by filters we mean on the PubMed as well as on some local search engines. There are filters which, for example, gender filters. If you are trying to find out literature on breast cancer, theoretically, breast cancer may occur in females and males also. But most of the time, we are concerned with the breast cancer in females. So we can put a gender filter where we can exclude the males and focus on females only. So we'll find out the breast cancer in females. Similarly, there would be age filters. If you are doing research on pediatric age group or geriatric age group, the elderlies, you can limit your search for that particular age group. So that's how filters work. Most of the time, another filter is the language filter, English language filter. And obviously, not many people know any language other than our local language, Urdu and other local languages, Sindhi, Punjabi, etc. and the English. So very less number of people will understand Spanish or German or any other French. So you often limit yourself to English language literature. So on the PubMed, you can find other language literature as well. So, and this includes the search tools on the PubMed as well. So, and what are the types of literature? What types of literature you can search? What types of literature? The type of literature could be journal articles on the internet or in the physical journal form, paper form. That could be, the type of literature could be a book, yes, a book. A book can be referred to, but most of the time when you are writing a synopsis where you are expected to give just 5 or 10 references, you should try to avoid a book reference. A book reference can be used in the dissertation, thesis, or a full article, maybe it a review article or an original research article. One of the reasons why you should not use the book reference in the synopsis is book references are usually more than 5 years old, mostly. So type of literature may include some government documents. For example, NCOC has issued some guidelines for COVID-19 pandemic, and those guidelines can be referred to. And not only NCOCs, I meant the local government authorities, but there are some international bodies, WHO or UNICEF or World Bank or maybe CDC. Such institutions also issues their guidelines, and those can be referred to, but considering they are relevant to your topic. So these are the types of literature. Sometimes we can even refer to the newspapers, but a researcher must be very cautious in referring to some newspaper or magazine reference, because most of the time the quality of evidence is not good. So you must be able to review that reference before referring it in your manuscript, and that reference must be very, very complete, so that the reader and reviewer can retrieve that reference at their end. And you evaluate information. So whatever you are referring to or finding, you must know the quality of that information. You cannot include anything and everything in your research paper or manuscript. The reason is simple. If you include quality papers, your overall argument will be strong. If you include weak papers or low quality papers, your argument will not be strong. So how will you evaluate the quality of information? There is a website I told you earlier as well, and that's called Equator Network. On that website, Equator Network website, you can find various guidelines for reporting various types of studies, starting from case reports and case series up to meta-analysis guidelines. So those guidelines will enable you to assess the quality of information, of papers you have, and evaluate them critically. And at the end, you will organize your research. There's one of the very important part, which is often missed by the students and by the researchers generally. By organizing research, we meant you must have a library of all the references at one place, in your laptop or maybe on the servers, online, wherever. And it is preferred you should use some reference manager. That reference manager could be EndNote, could be Mendeley, could be Zotero or Zotero, and could be reference manager BibTeX itself. But whatever the reference manager you use, you should be able to use it efficiently, because there is learning curve for each of those softwares. So one of the most popular one is EndNote, but it is a licensed software, and most of the time you just download the trial copy for 14 or 15 days. So, but that's your choice. Whatever the software you use, you should be able to use it efficiently, right? So for the keywords, operators, and filters, most of the time a researcher is not doing a research alone. So he has a team. He or she has a team. So brainstorm the keywords based on your research objectives. Mind map all those keywords. So there are various techniques. One of the most popular one is brainstorming. And if you do the brainstorming in the group and as well as on the paper, you can mind map all those key terms or keywords. So those keywords, as I said before, are the main ideas of your research, your topic, your question, maybe your hypothesis, if there is any. So your objective will guide you. What are the keywords and what should be included? So on the PubMed, and there is a medical subject heading, mesh heading thing. By using mesh heading, mesh terminologies, you can expand your keywords. As I said before, diabetes mellitus can be considered equivalent to impaired sugar level, impaired blood glucose. So in that manner, you can expand your keyword vocabulary. So you can look at the subject headings of the material you find and use those terminologies if they are relevant. So you can expand, or that's called controlled vocabulary. So the operators I was talking about were Boolean operators. Those were and, or, not. So these are three Boolean operators which are commonly used, and in the cap, or in all caps. If you put this and between two words, such as diabetes and Pakistan, you will find all the references where these two words are used jointly in that manuscript or in that document. So if you put these words and in between diabetes and Pakistan on the PubMed, you will find all the literature where the name of Pakistan is mentioned with the terminology diabetes. So that's how you can find out any literature where the Pakistan has been discussed. However, that's not a guarantee that the research that you find after using the and Boolean operator, where the Pakistan is one of the key words. So there is no guarantee that research is about Pakistan. Maybe, by the way, the authors have used the terminology, the name of Pakistan in the manuscript. So maybe that could be a partial reference, not a full reference. So if it is relevant or not, you have to read at least the abstract or maybe the full paper. The next Boolean operator is OR in the caps, OR, OR. So OR means either thing, this or that. So if you put OR in between two words, diabetes or Pakistan, you will find any literature where the diabetes has been mentioned or Pakistan has been mentioned. Once again, there is no guarantee that the term Pakistan will give you any paper which is discussing in detail about Pakistani condition. That's not a guarantee, but that's a guarantee that the Pakistan name would be there. It could be, by the way, just a tertiary or partial reference. The third interesting Boolean operator is not. If you don't want to include anything, any terminologies accidentally into your search term, you can put not before that terminology. For example, you want to find out the diabetes in Pakistan, but only in rural areas, not urban areas. So you can put not before urban areas. So maybe you will be able to find out only rural references or studies from the rural population. So the example given here is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder and soldiers, not Navy. So that's a complete big sentence where you can see all the 3 Boolean operators in play. So you can refine your search, as I said, by gender and by age, year, and type of content. So the search tools on the PubMed, you will have various other tools, but at least you need to read the abstract. So you can always click on the appropriate place and on the PubMed website, where you can expand all the abstracts within your searched items. So when you click the abstract items, all the abstracts will be open where the abstracts are available. So there are other databases where the full text is available, and sometimes you end up having an article which is costing you much dollars or pounds, Great Britain pounds. In that case, you should contact your librarian or your digital librarian. They can help you. Or there is another there is another body by the government of Pakistan, and that's the name of that body is PASTIC, similar to plastic, not without L. Plastic without L is PASTIC, and that PASTIC organization is a government body, and they can help you retrieve useful articles from around the world at very minimal cost. So, for example, if you are trying to retrieve an article which is costing you $500, you can retrieve that article in maybe 1,000 rupees from the plastic people. So we can always search libraries, because libraries mean online libraries and physical one as well. Yes, we use web search engines. And what was this? Institutional repository. This institutional repository is a kind of new thing, but for certain universities in Pakistan, you can see some of the institutes have made their institutional repositories. What are these things? So, for example, Law University establishes a separate website where all the work of the faculty and students and staff is uploaded. All the work means all the research work, the published research work. That published research work has been published in some other journals, internationally and nationally, but a copy of those research work has been uploaded by the university itself on a separate web page. So that kind of a one window operation kind of thing. So all the faculty, surgery, medicine, basic sciences, clinical sciences, their research work is there on one platform, and anyone can retrieve that, maybe internationally. So that's called institutional repository. It has all the regulations as it follows all the regulation as any other search engines has, and if you are retrieving something from the institutional repository, you have to reference it appropriately. So the referencing style, whatever the referencing style you will be using, it will decide how to refer to institutional repository items. Right. So these were the a recap of the first slide, and now we are talking about types of literature. So yes, articles journal, magazine, newspapers. But you know, magazines and newspapers have low quality evidence. The quality of evidence must be good. Books could be monographs written by single authors and electronic books, and maybe encyclopedias, the reference work. You can refer back to data, yes. So we have a website for COVID-19 worldometers and the COVID-19 databases. So people are referring back to and referring back to hard facts on the data itself, or sometimes they manipulate that data in positive sense and analyze a bit of that data and then refer the data websites. So the data include equation, charts, graphs, data sets, even maps and geographical data. I hope you have heard about the GIS data. If not, you can search it on the internet. So there is another kind of references called gray literature. Gray literature is one which is not usually peer-reviewed. Those may be government documents, those may be dissertations, which are institutionally reviewed but not peer-reviewed. So conference proceedings and other published reports, those are called gray literature, and those literature can be referenced. So when you evaluate the information, as I said before, you will follow the CRAP rule. Is it new information within last 5 years, not old information? You can go up to 10 years, but 5 years are preferred. So is it relevant to your question? If yes, then you can see the importance of that research. Is that paper or whatever the reference you are trying to retrieve, is that reference has been published by some good authority, some good authors, and some good journals? So credentials are important. Accuracy. So you can cross-check the information presented in some article. You can calculate their percentages within the article. You can check their numbers and compare them with the international numbers. So one of the most silly thing would be spelling errors. So if you can find a spelling errors in some article, that's an indication of poor quality evidence. Although spelling errors may occur in some good journals as well, although their proofreading is impeccable. So purpose of research. So that's a CRAP rule. Purpose of research means whether the article was published by independent authors, or is it patronized by some industry for their own vested interest, maybe pharma industry or some other industry. So you will organize your research, and for the organization you will use citation manager. You will build up your library, and that citation manager could be any the EndNote or any other, and you will use some defined citation style. The popular citation style is Vancouver. However, APA style is also popular, and Harvard is one of the favorite for me. So just quit talking, start doing. So why should we write a literature review? By literature review, we find the gaps in the knowledge. What has not been done, but what has been done as well. So your literature review will find the gaps, but it should not be redundant. When you write the literature review, it happens that you repeat and repeat the same information in paragraphs and after paragraphs. That's a kind of poor quality literature review. So when you write a literature review, don't repeat the concepts or theory. If you do have to repeat, you should have a purpose, clear rationale for repeating something. For example, if you are repeating because you are correlating it with some new factor, then you may be justified to repeat that information in your review. So yes, the core thing, the central thing is knowledge building. So literature review, even if you just do a literature review and publish it, that's kind of a paper called literature review or review paper, and that literature review is telling the reader or reviewer regarding the current status of knowledge. So can you find out experts from the literature review? By doing literature review, can you find experts? Yes or no? Yes, of course. I was doing a literature review on a topic. I was doing research on hand hygiene. And when I do literature review, and repeatedly I found an author whose name I remember, and if I pronounce it correctly, I think he's from Denmark. So his name was Pittet, P-I-T-E-T, Pittet. And one after another, I found whatever the papers and manuscript I find at that time. Those manuscript, every other manuscript was from Dr. Pittet, and very quickly I understand that Dr. Pittet is considered as an authority on the subject of hand hygiene. So that's how you can find experts, and maybe you can connect with those experts. If you have quite a passion with that topic, you can connect with that expert, and maybe that expert can help you, give you some direction, or may give you some useful suggestion. So by doing literature review, you read the methods of the others, of the other authors. And by reading those methods, you can always improvise those methods. You can do something new. You can put some novelty in your own methods. You can avoid some mistakes, and you can capitalize on the strengths of those methods. And in the end, you should not forget the opposing or alternative theories. For example, if you have when I was doing my own research on hand hygiene, I had this in my mind that irrespective of the quality of soap, be it a bar soap or liquid soap, or be it an antibacterial soap or a simple beauty soap, it doesn't matter. And all the soaps of any quality, they help you removing the bacteria and germs from your hand if your technique is correct. However, there is another school of thought who thinks that the quality of soap or the antibacterial nature of the soap is important. And that school of thought is mostly from the industry side. You can see the advertisement every day on the television and internet. So there are big multinational companies who are selling their antibacterial soap with the hope and slogan of removing germs from the hand and body. So that may not be necessary. Removing all the germs from the skin or hand may not be necessary. Some of the germs are friendly germs. So whatever literature review you will do, and that literature review will tell the reader and reviewer how could you how good at you are at your subject, how strong your grasp is, how wide you know, how deep you know. So breadth and depth both. So, but remember, a literature review is just not a descriptive list of, for example, if you can find 10 papers on the hand hygiene and you in the last 5 years, and you are just describing what has been done in each of the papers. That's not a literature review. You have to read all the 10 papers and then synthesize the information based on 10 papers. What those 10 papers are collectively meant. If you can convey that collective meaning of those 10 papers to the reader and reviewer, that's a kind of good literature review. So it's not just a summary, yes, or a book by book or article by article summary. If you are in case doing a book review or article review, so that's not a summary, not a descriptive list. So it's not a survey of every single thing that you have that reference to. So whatever you do, you have a context of your research objective or your research project, and then you synthesize. As I said, this terminology synthesis of literature is important. So you can Google it on the internet and find how to synthesize in scientific writing. So your literature review will lead the reader to the current status of knowledge about certain topic, and beside that, it will tell the reader what are the strengths of the literature and what are the weaknesses, and then you can tell the reader what you knew you are going to your project, what new it is going to add into the existing pool of knowledge. So I think there is a question, but let me check. One of your colleague is asking, sir, can we do research on a topic on which very limited articles are present? Of course, you can do. But there could be two things. If on a topic there is very limited literature available, that could have two meanings. That topic is not that important, maybe, or that is an ignored topic. If it is an ignored topic, do it. You could be the pioneer ones. If it is not an important topic, maybe that's better to be left alone and find some new topic. But you can do research on a topic where you cannot find many research articles. And similarly, for topics where you can find many hundreds of research articles, that's not an indication you should not do research on that topic. You can always find a perspective or an angle where you can add into the existing pool of knowledge. So that depends on the flight of your ideas, not the schizophrenic flight of the ideas, but the way you think about the problem and the way you think about the solution of the problem. So and there is another question: how would we differentiate it's ignored or it's not important? For example, if you are trying to find out what is the normal flora of skin, right? And in the last 5 years, you cannot find many research articles on this very topic. That means this topic has been addressed, this problem has been addressed decades ago, and now the mankind know what normal flora we have on skin or in the oral cavity or in other parts of our body, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So that's how you know that, yes, that's a topic which is not innovative. I should do something new. So doing the differentiation, is it ignored or not important topic, comes with experience. So I would recommend you to have a good mentor with you who can guide you to in the pursuit of your research, whatever the topic would be. And that mentor could be anyone who have time for you, a bit of time to teach you and guide you. So the structure of a literature review. So in your literature review, whenever you do a literature review, you will introduce your topic and define and give context why you are doing this review. Give reasons, your point of view, and then you will organize your literature review from known to unknown. That's the common practice, and from general thing to the specific ones. So there is another question, but I'm not going to tell you because there is an embargo by the sender to me, and that's also to go. Okay. So dear sender, I'm not disclosing your name here, but dear student, whatever your topic could be interesting as you send me, but you should discuss it with someone who has more expertise on that topic. Maybe I think you should choose the right person. Maybe a psychiatrist or a behavioral sciences expert, or maybe simple a person who has good knowledge in internal medicine or problems of adolescents. So they can help you refining your topic. Your topic is still quite crude, but could be an interesting topic, because a disputed topic or conflicting topics are always welcome, at least at my desk. Thank you for sharing. So one of the good practice of the writer of a literature review is to guide the reader in the path of the writing. I meant when you write a literature review or any essay, you should guide the reader what may happen next, what will happen next. So the reviewer will expect and then will find the same thing. So he'll be satisfied or she'll be satisfied. Yes, this makes sense. This is logical. So when you state the scope of your review, what is included, what is not, then you are trying to make a ground for your review for your reader, that what to be expected and what not. So those people who are having difficulty in doing their own research or finding their own research topic, they can contact me in my office. As I said before, my email is there. I'm sharing my email with everyone once again: ashraf.jahangir@duhs.edu.pk. That's my email, and set a meeting. We can meet after the Eid holidays, and then we can discuss on your topic. So the next thing, So your literature review will have an introduction part. Maybe it is labeled or not labeled. That's not an issue. So an introduction part, few paragraphs, and then the main body. And in the main body, you will organize all your review topic and give the insight to the reviewer what it is about. And as I said earlier, general to specific. You will go general to specific, and then you conclude. You will summarize what the collective meaning of those all 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 papers, if in case you have reviewed. So these were the Boolean operators I was talking about. So in the beginning, I told you about the Boolean operators, and those Boolean operators include and, or, not. There is another one, joining, but we are concerned with these 3 right now. Maybe I can show you the 4th one. So the and thing narrows down, because when you say something, for example, if you demand something, if you ask someone to buy a book for you, and you give the instruction like this: please buy a book which has blue cover and all Urdu text and will be less than 100 rupees and must be published within last 2 years. And so that means you are narrowing down your choices. So this and, the capital and, whenever it is placed in between 2 terminologies. So this Venn diagram is showing you, when this Venn diagram, that this and narrows down the research. So this is the research part, the green one, where both smoking and nicotine can be overlapped, and those papers are of your interest based on this Boolean operator search term. This Boolean operator works on PubMed and sometimes on Google and Google Scholar as well. But this may not work on some local search engines. Or, as I said, or expands. So whenever you put or between smoking or nicotine, so you can see the whole all green 2 circles. So either smoking or nicotine, you can find anything and you can expand your search. If you are not concerned with whenever a person do smoking, that will involve nicotine. If your assumption is this, then you can take for granted that nicotine and smoking are synonymous. So if you want to exclude something such as nicotine, you can put not, capital not, in between or before the nicotine. So this type of Boolean operator, as I showed you on the slide, can help you further narrow down and do complex research. For example, if you want to do a research on smoking or nicotine, where those 2 words were used synonymously, but there is another 3rd key terms with and prefix. This and prefix helps you to relate smoking with cancer, nicotine with cancer, and gives you some good complex results. So that's the end of my lecture, and we still have 10 minutes left for the further question answers. I welcome you all to put up your questions, and I'm happy to answer at this platform. My email is there. You can email me brief queries. I can respond to those brief queries. Try to respond within within few days. And you can always come to my office. My office is in the PDC building, 3rd floor, and it's in the DMC, Dow Medical College. But a prior appointment is necessary. You must email me before coming so that I can spare time for you. Hopefully it would be after this lockdown because the college is closed right now. Okay, so there is a question. Can we cite news article in our research? The answer is yes, but that news article should have 2-3 things for evaluation purpose. Your reference must be very, very complete. Most of the time, news article, whatever the article you read, when you tell someone to find that article on the internet, that person may not be able to find that article easily. So you must give the complete URL and all the relevant items so that the reader can retrieve the correct very article easily. One thing. The news article must be published in some good, reliable source, mainstream newspapers. Preferably, that news article should have the reporter's name in it, or at least the editor's name, or just the editor, if in general. Why? Because sometimes news are being reported by just as a hearsay. So that's not a kind of good reference. Or if, for example, there are so many newspapers published in the evening just for the fun purpose. Those newspapers are not for the referencing purpose. I hope I'm clear about this question. Sir, can we cite books? Yes, sure, you can cite books. But as I said before, in your if you are writing a synopsis, a small summary to be submitted for approval of your research project, it is preferred you should not include book reference in that summary, in that synopsis. Although if you cannot find any other reference but just the book reference, you can always give that reference in your manuscript or synopsis. Your references must be within the last 5 years, preferred. Within the last 10 years, maybe, but the older references, unless they are some milestone studies or some groundbreaking research or some very pivotal findings research, those researches should not be referenced. Any question? Any further? So as the Ramzan is ending and the Eid, we are approaching Eid, people are more tired and less interested in studies, seems. I'm sorry, student, that I feel sorry about you that you joined late, but at this moment I cannot repeat the lecture or maybe go back to the slides. But are we supposed to write writer's name? Where? Yes, writer's name is necessary in the reference year of the publication. Yes. So that's all in the referencing thing. So that's not the part of this lecture objective, but when we will do the reference writing, if in case, so you can see if the writer's name or author's name is available, you must report or write the author's name in the reference and the topic of the research in the reference, in the citation. Most of the time when we write the author's name, we initialize the first name and write just the second name. For example, my name is, my full name is quite lengthy, so I just shorten it, ASHRAF Jahangir. If you are referencing or citing my article in your research, so I'm the primary author, ASHRAF Jahangir. So you will write Jahangir A as my name. Jahangir A. So ASHRAF will be initialized as A, and my second name, Jahangir, will be in the beginning. Yes, Equator Network. So the website name was, once again, I told you about two websites: Equator Network for evaluating the and the guidelines. Equator Network website. The other website was PASTEC. PASTEC by government of Pakistan. This is another website where you can contact them and pay minimal fees to the government and get useful references at very minimal cost. So the synopsis, all the synopsis and the scientific work is being written in paragraph form. Yes, not bulleted, in the paragraph form. I think there are no more questions. There is another one. Okay, wait. So because a senior asked me to table form. So okay, right. If someone asks you to write a synopsis in a particular format or particular fashion or style, that may be the reason, because wherever you are going to submit that synopsis, it would be their requirements. So at the Dow University of Health Sciences, you need to write in paragraphs, and you should not write in tables or in bulleted forms in the synopsis. Write one thing. So maybe that senior will be submitting that synopsis to some other approval authorities. Sometimes the same researches are carried out with exactly the same questionnaire scales like AQ was. Should we do also? Is it worth how to go of this? Okay, right. If you have a question in your mind and you see that a lot has been done on that topic, and you have the same question in your mind, just try to bring some novelty in your question in order to make it different from the published, already done work. You should critically review the already published work. If the already published work has some limitations or lacking, then overcome those lacking in your own question. Then your question or your topic become innovative as well, and will be adding something to the existing pool of knowledge. Okay, thank you very much. So I'll ask my moderator to please end this lecture. We are done with the time and the questions, and thank you for the moderator for moderating this lecture fluently, swiftly, and to the students as well who were patient in listening and passionate in asking questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jahangir.